Everything begins with a thought. A fortune begins with a thought. Poverty also begins with a thought. The mind is the workshop where your future is designed or destroyed. Now, here's the truth most people never stop to consider. You don't get rich by accident, and you don't stay poor by chance. You get exactly what your thinking allows. See, the tragedy is not that people lack resources, it's that they lack discipline in how they think. The greatest battle is not in the marketplace, it's not in the economy, it's not even in your paycheck, it's in your head. If you win there, you win everywhere else. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. How to discipline your thinking so that it becomes a servant to your goals, not a saboteur of your future. We're going to explore daily habits of the ultra-successful, practical things, simple things, repeatable things that can turn ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. Wealth is not something that drifts into a person's life by chance, nor does it come to those who sit quietly and wait for a lucky break. Wealth is deliberate, it is intentional, and it always begins with philosophy. The way you think about money, the way you frame opportunity, the way you interpret effort and reward, these thoughts form the foundation of every financial result in your life. If you believe wealth belongs only to the fortunate, you'll wait and nothing will change. But if you adopt the belief that wealth is predictable, that it is a result of following sound principles and disciplined thinking, then you've already taken the first step toward a better future. Early in my journey, I realized that my pockets were empty because my mind was empty. I had no philosophy about wealth. I worked hard, yes, but I didn't think correctly about where money came from, how it multiplied, or how it disappeared. When I began to study, when I surrounded myself with books, mentors, and people who had achieved what I wanted, something shifted. I started aligning my daily choices with timeless principles, spending wisely, saving consistently, investing carefully, and never confusing consumption with wealth. Now here's a simple practice I recommend. Write down, in one paragraph, your personal philosophy of wealth. Make it clear, make it simple, and let it reflect the person you intend to become. Read it daily until it becomes part of you. Because when your philosophy is strong, your habits will follow. And when your habits are right, wealth will not be a question of if, it will be a matter of when. Your future wealth will be a reflection of the philosophy you choose today. Money that simply sits in a jar, or even in a savings account, has a quiet way of shrinking. Inflation eats at it, opportunities pass it by, and what once felt secure slowly becomes a liability. The truth is, wealth does not grow by accumulation alone. It grows by multiplication. A pile of money may look impressive, but unless it is working, unless it is engaged in producing more, it is destined to diminish in value. The wealthy do not think in terms of storage. They think in terms of return. They ask, if I place this dollar here, how many friends will it bring back with it? I remember the first time I truly understood this principle. For years I thought the answer to financial freedom was saving every penny, guarding it like treasure. But one day I looked at what I had saved and realized it hadn't grown. It was safe, but it was still. Then I met a businessman who taught me that money, like seeds, must be planted. You don't keep seeds in the bag and expect a harvest. You put them into the soil, you give them to work, and in due time they multiply. The strategy is simple. Make it a rule to put a portion of your savings to work. Don't risk it recklessly, but don't let it sleep either. Start with a small percentage. 20% is a good rule. And move it into investments that produce income. That could be a stock, a property, a business idea, or even developing a skill that makes you more valuable. The point is to move from storage to growth, from preservation to multiplication. Because here's the law, money that works grows, money that rests shrinks. And if you want wealth, you must make multiplication your philosophy. One of the biggest shifts you can ever make in your financial thinking is to stop measuring your progress in paychecks and start measuring it in percentages. Most people say, I make $2,000 a month or $5,000 a month, and that's how they define their entire economic life. But wealthy thinkers don't count dollars, they count percentages. They ask, what portion of my income is working for me? What portion is building a future? What portion is lifting others? That shift alone changes the game because it moves your attention from consumption to structure, from short-term comfort to long-term wealth. When I was young and struggling, my entire focus was on survival. Every paycheck was just a way to cover the next week or month. But then I was taught a lesson that changed everything. It's not how much you make that matters, it's how you allocate what you make. A person making $10,000 a month but spending every dime is poor in philosophy. A person making $2,000 but investing and saving a disciplined percentage is building wealth. Over time, percentages will outgrow paychecks. The strategy is straightforward. Build a money allocation plan and stick to it with discipline. For example, 50% for living, 20% for investing, 10% for giving, 20% for saving. These aren't rigid numbers, but they are a framework that forces order. And order is the foundation of wealth. Without percentages, lifestyle always expands to consume income. With percentages, lifestyle is controlled and growth is inevitable. So sit down today and decide your allocations. Write them down, make them law in your own life. Don't let your paycheck dictate your habits. Let your philosophy dictate your paycheck. Because wealth is not about amounts, it's about percentages. And percentages compound into freedom. If there is one force that quietly works while you sleep, while you eat, while you go about your day, it is compounding. Compounding is the silent partner of every wealthy person. It doesn't make headlines, it doesn't arrive with fireworks, but over years it produces results that look almost miraculous. The philosophy is simple. Wealth is not usually built by sudden windfalls or dramatic strokes of luck. It is built by small, steady contributions left to grow over time. The impatient look for jackpots. The wise allow compounding to do the heavy lifting. I remember when I was first introduced to this principle. A mentor showed me two numbers. He asked, would you rather have $3 million today or a penny doubled every day for a month? Like most, I thought the 3 million was the prize. But by day 30, the penny had multiplied into over 5 million. That was the day I stopped underestimating time and multiplication working together. Compounding doesn't just grow money. It grows confidence. It grows discipline. And it grows opportunity. The strategy is to automate it. Don't leave it to chance, and don't leave it to memory. Set up automatic contributions into long-term investments, whether it's a retirement account, index funds, or another vehicle suited to your goals. The key is consistency. When it's automatic, emotion is removed, excuses are removed, and time becomes your ally. The practical step is simple. Pick an amount and set it on autopilot. It doesn't have to be large, it only has to be consistent. What begins small becomes large, not by magic, but by mathematics. Compounding is proof that wealth favors the disciplined, not the lucky. Partner with it and let time become your greatest ally. Think of every dollar in your hand as a little worker. Each one has the potential to show up every day, put in effort, and bring back a return. But here's the truth. If you don't give your dollars a job, they will get lazy. They'll slip away into consumption, into things that fade, and once they're gone, they don't return. Wealth is built by treating money like a workforce. You don't just admire it, you don't just count it, you direct it. You say, here's your assignment, multiply yourself. I remember when I first began to understand this, I was spending nearly every dollar that came into my life on things that gave me pleasure in the moment but no value in the future. Then one day, a mentor told me, every dollar you waste is like firing a good employee. That thought struck me. I was hiring and firing my future every time I spent without intention. From that day on, I began asking of every dollar, will this grow or will it go? That single question changed my entire approach. The strategy is simple. Before you spend, assign. If it's consumption, make sure it's within your limits. But always direct a significant portion of your income toward multiplication, investments, skills, or opportunities that generate more. Dollars left idle eventually vanish. Dollars put to work come back with partners. The practical step is this. Every time money passes through your hands, pause and ask, what job will I give this one? Put them to work in investments, in education, in ventures that pay dividends. Treat them as employees, and soon you'll have an army working on your behalf. Because in the end, lazy money disappears, but disciplined money builds empires. One of the greatest battles you'll ever fight in your financial life is not with the market, not with the economy, not with opportunities lost or gained. It is with your own emotions. Emotions are powerful, but they are terrible financial advisors. Emotion-driven decisions destroy wealth. Discipline-driven decisions build it. How many fortunes have been lost because of panic? How many opportunities missed because of fear? How many people spend recklessly because of excitement, only to regret it the next morning? The lesson is clear. Emotions may color your life, but they must never govern your money. I can still remember a time when I was tempted to make a big financial move out of fear. Markets were shifting, friends were panicking, and everything in me wanted to join them. But I had learned enough to know this. Decisions made in the heat of emotion usually turn into ashes. So I waited. I gave it time. I calmed my thinking. And in that pause, I found clarity. What looked like a crisis was simply a season. My discipline saved me from a mistake that many around me did not escape. The strategy is simple, but it requires strength. Never make financial choices when emotions are high. Don't invest when greed whispers easy money. Don't sell when fear screams get out. Don't quit a path when frustration clouds your vision. Give yourself space for wisdom to catch up. Here's the practical step. If you feel emotional pressure, delay your decision 24 hours. Let the urgency cool. Let your thinking return to balance. If it's a good decision today, it will still be a good decision tomorrow. Wealth belongs to the calm, the disciplined, the thoughtful, because when emotions lead, mistakes follow. But when discipline leads, success stays. If you really want to shift your financial destiny, stop thinking like someone who only has needs and start thinking like someone who solves problems. Money doesn't chase those who complain. It flows to those who create solutions. That's the philosophy. The world rewards problem solvers because every dollar earned in the marketplace is tied to value delivered. The bigger the problem you solve, the bigger the reward. It's as simple as that. I remember early in my career, I was so focused on my own needs, how much I lacked, how much I wanted, that I couldn't see beyond my circumstances. But then a mentor asked me a question that changed my life. He said, instead of asking who will help you, start asking what problem you can solve. That flipped a switch in my thinking. Suddenly, I wasn't a victim of circumstances. I was a student of opportunity. Everywhere I looked, I saw challenges waiting for solutions. And each solution carried with it the potential for wealth. The strategy is to train your mind into a new habit. Whenever you encounter an obstacle, don't stop at frustration. Ask, where is the opportunity here? What's the lesson? How could this be improved? Over time, this kind of disciplined thinking sharpens your mind like a blade. You begin to see gaps others miss, ideas others overlook, and paths others dismiss. The practical step is simple but powerful. Carry a notebook with you. Each week, write down problems you encounter at work, in business, in daily life. Then set aside time to brainstorm solutions. Most ideas won't be winners, but some will open doors you never imagined. Wealth doesn't just come from labor. It comes from thinking. And disciplined thinking in terms of solutions is the fastest way to attract it. Every dollar that comes into your life has a job. It will either serve you by moving you closer to freedom, or it will enslave you by chaining you to debt, regret, and waste. That is the philosophy. Money itself isn't the master, you are. But if you refuse to direct it, it will find its own way. And usually, that way leads out of your life. That's why the discipline of spending is not about denial, it's about direction. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when my spending was thoughtless. If I had it, I spent it. Often on things that were gone as quickly as the excitement that purchased them. Then one day someone said to me, "You're not broke because you don't make enough. You're broke because you haven't learned to tell your dollars where to go." That struck me deeply. From then on, I understood. Wealth is not built by accumulation alone. It is built by allocation. It's not how much comes in, it's how wisely it's sent out. The strategy is to treat your spending like a business treats its budget. Businesses don't just accumulate money, they allocate it to payroll, to investment, to growth. You must do the same. Decide ahead of time where your dollars will go. Some to living, some to saving, some to investing, some to giving. Without this discipline, lifestyle will always rise to swallow income. With it, income becomes a tool for freedom. Here's a practical step that can transform your awareness. For the next 30 days, track every single dollar. Don't let one slip by unrecorded. At the end of the month, review it. You'll see patterns, waste, opportunities to adjust. That's the beginning of mastery. Because in the end, money is either your servant or your master. And the choice lies in your spending habits. One of the greatest disciplines you can ever build is the habit of daily learning. Formal education may help you make a living, but self-education, what you choose to learn after the classroom, that's what makes you a fortune. That's the philosophy. If you want to rise above average results, you must rise above average knowledge. The world pays for value, and value is created by what you know and how you apply it. I remember when I first started reading books outside of school. At first, it felt unnecessary. Why read about business when I was barely making ends meet? But soon I realized every chapter I absorbed, every lesson I learned was shaping my thinking. And when your thinking changes, your decisions change. Eventually, my decisions started leading me toward opportunities I couldn't even see before. Books, courses, mentors, they became my silent partners in wealth building. The strategy is simple. Learn something financially valuable every day. Don't just consume information randomly. Choose with intention. Read about money management, investing, leadership, or human behavior. Study those who have built wealth before you. Take their years of experience, written down in a few hundred pages, and absorb it in days. That's a shortcut most people ignore. Here's the practical step. Commit to 30 minutes a day. It could be a book, an audiobook on your commute, a podcast, or a course. But it must be daily. 30 minutes won't feel like much, but stack those minutes for a year, and you'll have read dozens of books, absorbed countless insights, and sharpened your financial mind. Wealth is built on disciplined habits, and learning is the master habit. Because once you grow your mind, your money will soon follow. Time is more valuable than money, because money lost can often be regained, but time spent is gone forever. That's the philosophy. Wealthy people understand this truth deeply. They guard their time like treasure, while the average person spends it carelessly, as if the supply were endless. But here's the reality. Every wasted hour is a piece of your future thrown away. And if you waste enough of them, you've wasted the very wealth you were hoping to build. I learned this lesson when I was still struggling. I used to say I didn't have time to read, to study, to build something extra. Yet I had time for television, for idle conversations, for distractions that added nothing to my future. Then one day, I heard the phrase, either you run the day or the day runs you. That stopped me in my tracks. I began auditing my time, writing down where it went, and I was shocked. I wasn't broke because of lack of opportunity. I was broke because I was spending my hours on the wrong things. The strategy is simple. Replace time-wasting activities with time that builds value. If you can exchange 1 hour of mindless entertainment for 1 hour of study, planning, or building a skill, the compound effect is staggering. That 1 hour a day becomes 7 hours a week, 30 hours a month, more than 300 hours a year, nearly the equivalent of 2 months of full-time work invested into your growth. The practical step is to audit your week. Write down how you spend each day. Then make one decision, cut at least 1 hour of waste daily, and reallocate it to something productive. That single adjustment can reshape your entire destiny. Because when you discipline your time, you discipline your wealth. Real wealth is not measured by the cars in your garage or the clothes in your closet. Those things fade. They wear out. They lose their shine. True wealth is measured by what you leave behind, not just in assets, but in principles, values, and wisdom that continue long after you're gone. That's the philosophy. Wealth is not what you keep, it's what you pass on. Luxury may impress for a moment, but legacy influences for generations. I remember visiting a wealthy businessman's home years ago. His house was beautiful, his possessions impressive, but what struck me most was not the luxury, it was the library he had built for his children. Shelves of books on money, leadership, philosophy, and life. He told me, I don't just want to leave them money, I want to leave them the mindset to multiply it. That stayed with me, because if you leave possessions without principles, you've left seeds without soil. They won't last. The strategy then is to discipline your thinking, to move beyond the desire for luxury and aim for legacy. It's not wrong to enjoy nice things, but don't stop there. Build principles into your wealth plan. Teach your family discipline, generosity, and stewardship. Share the wisdom behind the wealth, not just the wealth itself.